Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, I guess. It's taken me a while, but here we are. We are doing YouTube. So I wanted to start off doing a bit of an episode where I introduce myself a little bit and kind of explain my fitness journey and where I started, the transition all the way through to where I am today. Bit of a self-indulgent episode to start with. Moving forward, I think I'll stick to the more educational bits and pieces, but we'll see. We'll see if you like it. So for me, I guess fitness as an umbrella term started pretty young. So I was always quite an active kid, but I wouldn't say sporty, right? So I wasn't great with, well, I don't know whether I wasn't great with it or whether I just didn't really have that much exposure to it, but kind of ball sports, hand-eye coordination, not so much my bag, but things like gymnastics and dance and trampolining, I absolutely loved. And I would basically spend as much time as possible doing any one of those things. And then as I got into like my later teen years, I think things like school got a little bit more intense with exams and things like that. And also just I had more of a social life, frankly. So those sorts of things started to just naturally ease their way out of my life a little bit. And there was a good few years there where I did not a huge amount when it comes to exercise or activity, or that even being a priority for me, honestly. And it wasn't until I was about 21 or 22 maybe that I first stepped into the gym to actually work out, right? So not to do like a fitness class or to just have a little walk on the treadmill, but to actually intentionally go and do a workout. So that's almost 10 years ago now, like 8-9 years ago. And a lot has changed since then. And I guess after putting some thought to like, why did I go to the gym? Like what was the actual reason that I ended up in the gym trying to do a workout, trying to find my way through all the bits of equipment and figuring out how this gym thing works? And I guess it's a couple of things. So firstly, I know I am inherently an active person. I like being active. I like how exercise makes me feel. But I'd lost those things that I was good at and that I spent a lot of my free time doing a few years back. So I guess there was a bit of a hole, a fitnessy shaped hole in my life that I wanted to fill. And secondly, and probably more so, for the last year or two prior to getting into the gym, like I was in my early 20s, right? Like I guess most people, you weren't really looking after your health all that much. Particularly 10 years ago, it was much more centered around being with my friends, drinking pretty heavily, not sleeping all that much, just generally having a really good time and trying to hold down a full-time job. Like I didn't go to university, so I kind of had that year or two as my uni years without the uni. So it was very much young, wild and free and having a great time. But I'd also developed during that time some pretty disordered habits when it comes to nutrition or food in general, and kind of just not really looking after myself all that well. So at the time, I was probably 12 kilos lighter than I am now. So I was pretty underweight, honestly. And I kind of got to a place where I was weirdly kind of happy about it, but not happy. Seeing a low scale weight for me was a major win. Like seeing that I'd lost a couple of kilos in the last couple of weeks was like, it gave me this buzz, which actually looking back is kind of sad because I don't know where that came from really. Like I'm not really sure why I felt that way about myself. I was already technically on kind of the metrics that we use in general health and wellness, I was underweight. And I know I wasn't happy with my body. I certainly wasn't looking in the mirror going, you look great. Like I didn't feel good about my body, but the idea of being in a smaller and smaller and smaller one became more attractive to me. And I'd kind of noticed that and thought I should probably do something about this. And for me, it wasn't an eating disorder, but there was definitely positive associations with eating less and being small. And I think one of the kind of wake-up calls, if you like, was I'd started to see changes in my body that I knew were wrong. I knew were signs from my body saying something is wrong, right? So my hair started falling out pretty significantly. So I remember the first time I noticed it, I wore a middle part in and I saw kind of a a patch right in the middle, right at the front. I must have been about 21. And at the time, I honestly, it's so weird thinking about it. At the time, I didn't actually think anything of it. I kind of just thought, oh, well, it's just one of those things. Like, I'm sure it'll come back, like no big deal. And then months went by and I kind of developed more patches. And I'd noticed that it was coming out in the shower in kind of, and I've always had pretty heavy hair fall because I have a lot of hair, right? So I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe it's just one of those cycles that your hair goes through where I'm shedding and, I'm sure it'll be fine in a couple of weeks. But it was coming out in clumps, in big clumps, so much so that I could not let it go down the drain. Like, I'd have to gather it all up. And it got to a point where I had 12 active patches on my head, from kind of the size of like a 5p piece to maybe like a slightly bigger than a £2 coin. So I ended up going to a trichologist. They'd run some blood tests and they essentially said that my stored iron was kind of worryingly low. So I kind of asked like how that could be, like how that could be the case. And essentially she'd said that it was down to some sort of extreme stress on the body, right? Like, it's really hard to specifically diagnose these things. And again, it was a long time ago, so I'm paraphrasing, but it's kind of an immuno response to that stress. As a result, my hair was falling out. So I was kind of like, what am I doing? Like, I need to be taking care of myself a little bit more. Like, I need to be thinking about what I'm putting in my body and how I'm helping my body do the things that it does for me on a daily basis that I'm currently completely taking for granted. And one of those things for me was going to the gym. And I also kind of knew from doing some of that gymnastics and the trampolining and the dance, like, I knew things that I thought would transfer really well into getting good at the gym. So I knew I had like a base level of strength. I knew about things like form and technique and core control and kind of proprioception, like knowing where my limbs were in space and things like that. So I kind of knew that there were elements of what I'd done previously that would probably transfer over quite nicely. So I guess years 1 to 3 at the gym, you could call it winging it, like absolutely winging it. Going to the odd class here or there, just having a play around on different pieces of equipment, but weights were staying the same. And I certainly wasn't venturing into any of the big heavy barbell lifts for those first couple of years. I would definitely call my gym journey a slow burn. I would actually say I've only been properly training and knowing what I'm doing for maybe the last 5. Like, it's probably been a 5-year journey of actually knowing what I'm doing. The first 4 or 5, definitely more in that winging it camp, which was absolutely fine for me. It did for me what I needed it to do. It made me think about my body a little bit more. It made me take care of myself a little bit more. When you start going to the gym, you start eating better. You start sleeping better. Like, all of these things, it's a butterfly effect. You tend to just think about everything more holistically when you start doing that one thing, that one action to make your life and your health that bit better. And then that kind of second 5-year period that I'm talking about, where I started to really like invest in knowing what I'm doing in the gym, I just wanted to absorb all information possible around, if I'm doing this thing, why am I wasting my time? Like, I better fucking do it right. So it was a little bit from that kind of, I guess, that competitive side of, wanting to be good at all of those kind of sports that I was doing when I was younger, had kind of started to creep into gym life. And I knew that I wanted to do this thing right. So every kind of piece of information I saw, I would then go down a rabbit hole of, okay, well, why is that true? Like, where's the research? Where's the study? Like, show me how that can be the case so that I know whether it's worth my time or not, right? And then as I started doing that, obviously my gym performance improved, my physique improved, generally my gym enjoyment improved. But it also really helped me to realize that this isn't just a hobby for me, or this might not be a hobby for me. It might be more than that. And actually, for those first kind of 2 years of that second chunk of my gym journey, it was just that. It was just a very subtle, very quiet voice, like in the back of my head. And then the pandemic happened and I was in a job that was fine, but like, that's literally how I would describe it. Fine. I had no real direction. I didn't love it. And honestly, I kind of felt a bit wasted. I felt like I had much more to give than the job was currently offering me. And I think everyone just did a bit of a life reassessment at the pandemic, right? So we were working from home and frankly, there wasn't much to do. And I was thinking, like, is this it? What happens when we get called back to the office tomorrow? What happens then? Like, do I just go back? Because this is pretty shit. So I kind of thought, okay, what do I love about my job right now? And really the only part was that helping people or making people's life easier, or, you know, how can I build relationships and make people feel good? That was quite literally the only branch of my job that I enjoyed and that I felt like I was really good at. And then I thought, okay, what do I like outside of my job? And really the only thing that I know I do and like doing on an almost daily basis is movement, it's activity, and particularly strength training. Like, it's given me so much. It has literally transformed my life and my physique, but my life really. So why don't I do something with that? That was it. That was the start of the PT journey. So I got my qualification in 2021, at the end of 2021. And then I thought, right, I'm going to start picking up clients. Like, I'm going to go out, find some clients. I'm going to do those alongside my full-time job, mornings and evenings. Like, that'll be fine for a little while. And then I'll figure out what I want to do after that. It literally took me 6 months. And I was like, I'm doing this. Handed my notice in. I left in June 2022. And then since then, we've been a full-time PT. Throughout all of that, the gym, from a personal perspective, has been a constant. And what I realized is that my truest passion is helping other women go through what I went through, but to cut out the first 6-7 years and just skip straight to the good bit, knowing what you're doing to get the results that you want and to get that maximum impact from the time that you spend. So throughout the last few years, I'd say my goals have changed a couple of times, but really it's been all about how can I get as strong and as capable as physically possible. And particularly in the last couple of years, more so about, not only is that a great thing to do for now, but it's such a good thing to do for the future. Like, when I'm a grandma, can I still do my own shopping? Can I still walk up a steep flight of stairs? Can I still run around with my grandkids? Like, that is literally the main focus in mind right now. And actually, when I think about that a bit deeper, I think a lot of that comes from my own nan. She turns 87 next week. And I vividly remember as a child staying at her house, waking up in the morning. I open the spare room door and she's on the landing doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, like just doing like a little 15-20 minute body weight workout on the landing, naked, by the way. That wasn't necessary. But like, I could see that in her. And she now still does everything completely independently. She jumps up out of a chair. Like, she has absolutely no issues whatsoever. And frankly, she's my fucking hero. So if I can end up anything like her when I'm older, I will be absolutely thrilled. It's funny, when I started recording, I was thinking, God, this will be over in 5 minutes. It's really quite simple and quite straightforward. But here I am yabbering on. Maybe that's enough for today. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, follow along. And if there's anything you want to hear from me, let me know. I'll catch you next time.